Cosplay Sanctuary podcast. This is your host, Scotty B. My next guest is an amazing talent. She's all over media, including YouTube and podcasts. Sharing this space with her co-host and twin, my next remarkable guest has done so much for the cosplay community, fandom, the geek culture, and shares with us so much of what cosplay is all about. Please welcome the multi-talented Supergirl herself, one half of the Double Feature podcast, Christina Schreiber, the Colorado Kryptonian.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Scotty. I'm thrilled to be on the show, so I appreciate you having me.
Well, thank you. Thank you for being here. You've done so many cool things, and I know this will probably date the cats a little bit, but congratulations on 3,000. So we all love you, 3,000 for sure.
Yes.
And we appreciate what you do out there and all of the amazing content that you come up with. Just all over media. I mean, it's video, it's audio, it's a lot of really cool looking Instagram photography, and just what you do is fantastic. So thank you so much for being on the show. And I hope we can get into some of the things that you talk about on your show, but also just about like your origins and how you became the Colorado Kryptonian. We started to see you on Instagram about a year ago, and you've been doing cosplay actually for quite a long time with your sister, and just in general. You've always loved Halloween, and that's usually where it starts for cosplay, but not always. But you created so many, and you chose Supergirl for kind of your for your moniker, for your avatar on Instagram. So yeah, please just talk about becoming the Colorado Kryptonian.
Yeah. So, I mean, like you mentioned, Halloween's always been a big thing for myself and my twin sister, and we always loved the costumes and just dressing up and becoming other people, so to speak, and kind of shedding ourselves and donning a new personality, even if for one night. And that's grown, just through my background in theater and doing that in high school and partially in college, and just seeing the inner workings of the production and being part of props and the tech crew really ignited that love for it. And, having friends in the cosplay community, attending conventions before I started, they're like, hey, you're into Halloween and costumes and all that. You should just bring one of your Halloween costumes and come have fun with us. It's a good time, and you get to see, some celebrities, meet new people. So come with us. And, my sister and I started, oh gosh, our first convention was Denver Comic Con in 2015. I think it was now, which is going on it's 5 years, which is
It goes fast.
Crazy. It goes by so fast. And we built our own props out of, foam, and just learning all the different techniques, looking stuff up. And, our first cosplays were not the best. And, we've definitely grown in our craft for sure. But, just that ignited it. The moment we set foot in that convention center, we were like, okay, this is going to be a thing now. Like, this is going to take over my life pretty much. And yeah, and just through the years doing other cosplays and stuff, just honing our craft and figuring things out and learning and making mistakes has been awesome. It's just such a fun hobby. But to answer your question about Supergirl, so it's pretty deep, but I started watching the show probably about 2 years ago now, 2.5 years ago. And, didn't really watch any of the other Arrowverse shows or CW shows, and really latched on to Supergirl and just who she was as a person, as a hero, and just her character and the hope and the optimism that she brings people, I really connected with. And then, the actress Melissa Benoist, she's from Colorado. So just having that connection also, made it kind of special. And I wanted to embody those same characteristics into myself. And, I decided, what, let me make a cosplay page devoted to all this stuff, since it's so fun and it's such a big part of my life. I can't remember exactly how I came up with Colorado Kryptonian. I think it was just like, okay, it sounded nice, and I'm from Colorado, so I gotta get some state representation there, and Kryptonian. So it kind of just meshed into what it is now, but going on a year of having this page, which is kind of crazy. So it's grown a lot.
Yeah, it has it's fantastic everything that you do on your Instagram, and it really is cool. Like I've really only seen the first season of Supergirl.
Yeah, it's the best one.
I kind of lost. I watched a lot of Arrow, and I've seen some of Legends of Tomorrow, and I've seen The Flash, and I started on a Supergirl, and I really do like the way that they put together the show.
Hmm.
And they kind of make her, she kind of has like this sort of plucky characteristics to her, but then yeah, she puts on the outfit and she's super confident about what she can do, and she's really not in her cousin's shadow. Is it her cousin? Yeah, he's a
Yep.
cousin. I get a little confused about all of how they're related sometimes, but. Um, so and cosplay can be very empowering. Oh, and don't let me forget about theater, because it's very cool that
Yes.
you mentioned that,
Yes.
but we will definitely get back to that. um, but yeah, Supergirl is very empowering, and just talking about the empowerment in general, and the female characters that you've chosen as you've gone along in fandom. Does it, and I think I know the answer to at least part of this, but does it inspire a lot of confidence in yourself and like others that you meet at cons? Um, when they see you in the cosplay, do you get that sense that there's a lot of inspiration and that you have that sort of empowering energy?
Oh yeah, 100%. Anytime I put on the cape and boots and everything, there's a switch kind of that goes on in my head just, and there's a switch physically too. I'm standing up straighter, and I just feel more confident in myself. And when I go to conventions and I see, little kiddos wearing the S and, other superhero costumes, it's always so just incredible to see them light up as soon as they see you, and they're running across the convention center, their parents running behind them trying to keep up, and they're just so excited to see you. And then once they get up close, and then they're just in shock, like, oh no, what am I doing? Like, they're actually here in front of me. um, yeah, kids are definitely my favorite part of conventions, just being able to be that inspiration for them, and to play the hero, even just for a few minutes to them, because that's something they're going to remember, for the rest of their lives. I remember even when I was a kid, going to like Disneyland or Disney World and seeing those characters in real life. To me, they were those characters. So I feel like cosplay has the same effect, and it's so powerful. And knowing that I made an impact on a little kid, even just for a few minutes, it makes my day. It's amazing, and I love the confidence that it brings myself and others.
Yeah, and I mean it's a, and I've mentioned this before on the show, that it's just a crazy feeling when you can like when a kid comes up to you and they get really lit up about your cosplay and about what that character that you are becoming when you put it on. I think it's just really cool moments like that that can happen at conventions. Not as much online, sorry, online cons. It's not the
Right.
same feeling, but at least you can still share a little bit of that. And whether it's Supergirl or whether it's Rey from Star
Yep.
Wars, and you've done quite a bit with Rey. I mean, those photos really. Whenever I see you post anything, like usually it looks like it's in the middle of a desert. I don't know how you're doing all of this, but you're like taking stills from the movie and just bringing them to life. It's just amazing, and from the props to the makeup, it's just so accurate. The characterization is just great. I know, and I've heard you talk about which of the Star Wars saga are your favorites, and I know some of the newer ones don't actually rank so high, but Ray sure does. So
Yes.
I guess my question is, you have kind of your ranking of the whole of the Star Wars saga. So how does Rey compare to Leia or Padme as far as like the the character or the princess of choice from Star Wars?
Mm. See, that's a tough one because I think they all stand in their own way, in their own right. Putting them, you know, against each other, I guess, in a way. I don't know. I feel like they each have something to bring to the table in terms of characterization and empowerment. And personally, I attached to Ray just because, kind of being an outcast and, just she's so innocent and so just optimistic for what life has in store, no matter what has happened to her, no matter the turmoils and the trials that she's been through. She's still hopeful. And in terms of, Leia and Padme, Leia's Leia, like Princess Leia. You can't go wrong with Princess Leia. Carrie Fisher, uh, absolutely incredible. So I think, in terms of which one I would rank, I mean, I gotta go with Ray, just for the personal aspect, but as a whole, there's no competition. They're all amazing. I'm wanting to do a Padme cosplay here down the road at some point. It's something that I've been wanting to do for what feels like ages. Ever since Attack of the Clones came out in 2002, like I wanted to do a Padme costume. So I think that might be in the cards for me down the road. We'll see, but I don't know. I gotta say Ray is definitely up there just personally, but I like all three.
Well, and I agree with you. I think I really enjoy what they've done with the last three. I wasn't a big fan of the first three episodes, one, two, three.
Mhm.
Like when one came out, like it was like really exciting. We're like, oh my God, another
Yes,
Star Wars. But then when you go back, you're like, wait, why was I applauding so much for Jar Jar Binks?
exactly.
But I like it was so cool when episode seven came out
Oh my
and
gosh.
just what they did with it. Like I was just glued to everything. I thought it was amazing. And I don't know if it kept that same energy as we went along to The Last Jedi, but I do think that Rey really carried that, like, she kind of carried everything very well, even if it did kind of lose its way as a story,
Yeah.
which arguably people would say, I think it's fine. It's not Rogue One, but it's fine as far as the story.
Yeah.
And yeah, the character, like I think they try to do a lot of things with her, and I think that it is something easy to step into. She does
Hmm.
have a lot of like dynamics, whereas you don't see so much of that with Padme. Well, yeah, you do.
Right.
With Padme, you do, but with Leia, you don't really get that until later.
Right.
She kind of grows into a different sort of a character. She changes a lot. Yeah, I guess good choice.
Yeah.
I don't
I mean,
know.
I will say this, like I feel like with Padme specifically, I don't like how they treated her character in episode 3. Yes, she's pregnant, but she's still, the amazing kick-ass senator and queen that we knew in 1 and 2. But I don't know, I just feel like it was such a disservice to her character in episode 3. But that I could go on about that, so we don't need to press too much. But
Yes,
I don't know.
it's a the first three really just the pairing and yeah, yeah, I could go on and on about it too about like all of the things that if they like well now like looking back like okay well if Disney would have came in sooner would they have just rebooted the entire thing and started over with all nine? I don't know, but maybe they would have like had like a Darth Maul apology in there somewhere and had
That would
more
be
of
amazing.
him in the whole show,
Yeah.
which was also a cool part. I think that was in Rogue One. Yeah, it was at the
Hmm.
end.
Yep.
But you have, and this is kind of going in a completely different direction. But I did want to ask the question
Yeah.
that you've mentioned that the cosplay attracts a little bit of attention, especially on your way to and from conventions. Um, Do you feel that there is still a lot of room for community involvement and about how cosplay is accepted outside of the con?
Yeah, I've definitely gotten some weird looks, just going to and from conventions. And people are interested in it, even if they don't want to dress up. It's just I think the costumes is kind of jarring for them, especially if you're covered head to toe in blood and dirt like I was,
Mhm.
for my Tomb Raider cosplay. And there's always that sense of community within the cosplay community, and I feel like people attach and they have passions, and regardless if it's, cosplay or, it can be really any interest at this point. But I think people want to feel like they're included. They want to be a part of something that's kind of bigger than themselves. So yeah, I definitely think there's room for people to become a part of it. I'm still relatively new to the community. There's people that have been doing this for decades, and I'm only, 5 years in, still learning. And I think having more people involved, and especially with this year, with conventions not really being a thing, there's going to be a lot of people, newcomers coming next year, to conventions if they're still happening, just because they want to be around people and they want that sense of community and just to be surrounded by like-minded individuals. And it might just not be something they know even exists, just with their day-to-day jobs or what have you. So yeah, I definitely think there's room. There's always room in the cosplay community. It's always growing. It's a big community. So yes, for sure.
Yes, it's for everybody, and we're all going to go bonkers when they finally do go back to having conventions.
It's
They're
gonna be
just
nuts.
people will flood the gates if they can. It'll just be lots of very uncomfortable distances between people.
Oh my gosh. I'm curious how they're gonna do that because, like, I mean, personally, I know I'm gonna want to try and go to every convention that I possibly can go to. And I'm sure a lot of other people are going to do the same thing. So I'm curious how they're going to handle crowd control and all of that fun stuff, especially if, we're probably still going to be dealing with all of this pandemic stuff for the foreseeable future. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, I think it's probably here to stay for a while, but I really hope that we can at least have a little bit of normalcy with those sort of gatherings. I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do, but I sure hope it comes back soon. So on another note, you have a twin.
Yes. Yep.
Your sister, Caitlin,
Yep.
has cosplay with you, and you have a podcast together, double feature, which is fantastic. And I will have links to it in the show notes for sure, for it being featured on our communitynow.com. And you've covered a lot of topics with the geek culture, with fandom, cosplay, and of course movies. Would you like to talk about the podcast and how you got started with it?
Yeah, of course. So double feature, it actually started a couple years ago. My sister and I worked at the same company, and we're trying to grow the community. That's what our community now is about. I'm actually the managing editor for the website, and we talk about all sorts of stuff, entertainment, events, lots of fun community based stuff. And Caitlin and I are talking about cosplay stuff, movies, TV shows, all the nerdy fun stuff all the time. So we figured, why not make a podcast and video series and just record our conversations? And the double feature name is kind of just a play on words, being twins and then movie double feature. So we were having fun with creating that. But yeah, I mean, we recently actually just shot, talking about our top picks for what's coming to Netflix. And, we've talked about our cosplay plans and our favorite movies, ranking the Star Wars movies and ranking the Harry Potter movies, making butterbeer. And I mean, we basically cover anything and everything geeky and nerdy, that we're interested in and want to talk about. And it's been so fun, just getting to hang out with my sister, is always a fun time. And, we don't live together anymore. So any chance I get to talk to her is time well spent for sure. So it's a lot of fun.
And just for the record, my favorite Star Wars movie is Empire. Just,
Yes.
just
Yes.
that's not rehearsed or made up. It really is my favorite.
That's
Um,
awesome.
it's got all the coolest
Classic.
stuff, and it's also the most uplifting because nobody dies. It's the only
That's
one where
true.
nobody dies.
Oh my gosh, that's so true.
Yeah, it's the
I didn't
biggest
even think
tragedy,
of that.
but I've never really understood why it's the biggest tragedy because everyone survives the entire show. It's it just feels like they don't because Luke gets his hand chopped off. And I won't say that as a spoiler because I think everyone's had about 40 years to absorb all of this. So
Yes.
sorry if I am spoiling it for anyone. Yes, Luke gets his hand chopped off. I won't tell you about the relationship between Darth Vader and Luke. I'll leave that for you if you haven't seen this.
People don't know about that by now. I mean,
Well, I'm still trying to figure out what happened at the end of The Last Jedi. Okay, I'm
oh,
processing. It's probably gonna take me a little while to figure out, like, because have you read any of the books?
I haven't, no. I
I'm
want
gonna
to.
I'm gonna go down a little bit of a rabbit hole. So at one point, the Emperor, it turns out he's a clone, and he has like lots of clones of himself. So I thought that's where they were going with all of it. Like it was gonna be like a lot of emperors, because that's what happens with Luke in the books. Is like he goes on this, like, basically he just becomes this uber Jedi. Like he's just like no unstoppable. He goes and he like wipes out all of the clones of the Emperor, and he's like the last man standing. He's just like, yeah, done. There's like all of that. So I thought that's kind of what they were trying to do with the whole ending where she's like fighting Palpatine. Like, when did he have time for a family, I guess, is what my question was at the end of that. Like,
I know. I
um,
feel like leaving that movie, I left with more questions than I did answers. And I went in with a lot of questions. So I don't know. It, nope. I'm not a fan of that whole family deal. Not gonna lie. I was very disappointed in the direction they went with that in the last two, the sequel trilogy for sure. First Force Awakens, like it's the best one.
yes, yes, it is.
It's the
I
one.
thought it was well done.
Mhm.
I will forgive them for all of the characters that died in the course of making these, but it was still cool, and I think just a lot of huge pops.
Yeah. I definitely liked them bringing back all of the original cast members and everybody like that, but I don't know, some of them I feel like were severely underused or
Yeah.
unfortunately with Rise of Skywalker with Carrie Fisher and her passing right before then, like you can definitely tell in moments where they took old footage, and I don't know, for me it didn't feel as genuine as they were trying to make it.
Hmm.
um I don't know. It JJ did what he could. He did what he could with what he had. So
Yeah. So I think the whole saga will become very timeless. I think people
oh
will
yeah.
still appreciate everything, and it's not like they're gonna stop. Mandalorian's coming out pretty soon, so
Oh my gosh.
we
I'm
still
so
have
excited for that.
us. So you are you've done theater,
Yep.
and I've done theater, so we might have something to talk about here.
Yes.
You have said that one of your favorite movies of all time is Singing in the Rain.
Yes.
And I am a little familiar with that show overall. I was Don Lockwood in the musical a few years ago, and
Yay.
it's super fun. I enjoyed everything. My favorite scene was Moses because I got to tap dance on top of a desk, and it was a lot of fun making all of those props because we had to make a couch that could fall forward for the
Yes.
scene where we jump over it and basically flip it over, and just like how we had to like cut the legs so it wouldn't just fall backwards instead.
I
But
like it.
yeah, talk about what you really like and enjoy about that show, and really just about your theater background in general.
Yeah. So actually my fiance actually is the one who got me into Singing in the Rain. I've been a musical theater fan for ever, but I hadn't seen Singing in the Rain, and it's all time classic. Everybody talks about it, and I'm like, I need to watch this. So I actually just watched it for the first time probably about 6 months ago. So just once all the quarantine and everything started, we were hunkered down, so we're like, let's watch Singing in the Rain. And I watched it and I fell completely in love with it. It definitely is one of my favorite movies of all time. I just love the old school feeling and just it's a classic movie musical to me. Everything else that's come after it takes inspiration from Singing in the Rain. And my favorite song from that is, I mean, Singing in the Rain, classic, Gene Kelly, but I really love Good Morning. I mean, it sounds kind of cliche, but just the physicality of that dance number itself is just so impressive to me. And the fact that, Debbie Reynolds was able to just do all of that in high heels is just mind boggling to me because I'm like, I can barely walk up a set of stairs in flats, let alone dancing up and down, tap dancing in heels up and down stairs. Like, phenomenal. I could watch that scene over and over again. And, I'm grinning like an idiot just thinking about it. But yeah, it's definitely got a special place in my heart now. And just the fact that my fiance was the one who introduced it to me makes it, that much more special too. Um, so I absolutely adore Singing in the Rain. But theater wise, it I didn't start theater until, oh gosh, it had to be, I think it was my junior year of high school. I think that's right. Because I did, athletics and sports and different things my first 3 years of high school. And then I actually got injured playing lacrosse. And then that kind of got me into the theater side of things because I'm like, I still want to be part of, a group and, make new friends and work towards a common goal. And, I got introduced to theater, joined, and, my life hasn't been the same since. My sister and I were the heads of our run crew. So we were in charge of moving all the sets and the props and creating everything during those blackouts. And just that gave us a chance to, kind of flex our leadership muscles and to see if we can handle, we're handling stuff under pressure because anything can happen in theater. It's live. Granted, the audience doesn't necessarily know mistakes are being made, but everybody backstage is freaking out because somebody didn't have the right prop, or the costume got busted, or whatever the thing is. Like, but to the audience, everything's smooth, it's nice. And I just love the camaraderie and just all of us working together to create something so unique and special. Let me see, we did a few in high school. We did a few original productions, which were a lot of fun. But one of my favorites was The Foreigner,
Mhm.
and oh, I absolutely adore that show. It's so funny. We actually tweaked it. So, oh gosh, who's the main lady? What is it? What's her name? I'm totally drawing a blank now, but we made the characters, the main old lady in the show, twins. So my sister and I were joking, we're the understudies for the understudies, just in case something were to happen. Because working in theater, we knew all of the lines, we knew all of the blocking, and just watching it and being a part of it all the time. So we're like, if you guys need us, like we're just right backstage, just let us know. But no, that was one of my favorite shows. We did, oh gosh, Aida, Beauty and the Beast. I never got to do Fiddler on the Roof though. I was really bummed about that because that's another favorite of mine. I would have loved to be part of Fiddler. That would have been amazing. But and then I just did some stuff in college, took a few classes, thought about majoring in it, but it didn't end up happening. Just more of an elective, But yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. I wish I could say I was still active in the theater community now, but I'm not, unfortunately. So I definitely miss it. It was definitely a highlight for me in high school. I wish I'd done it all 4 years.
Yes, I really pushed myself to do it when I was a freshman in high school, and I was re it was it was just like getting on stage at that point was like a big box to check, and
Yeah.
just yeah, totally not comfortable with it, and really just like everybody's looking at me, like you get that feeling. But
Yep.
yeah, the more that you do it, it just becomes very fun. It's
Oh
just
yeah.
there's nothing quite like walking out on stage. I don't know really how to describe it. I
Right.
know that pre-beat just before you go out and then you do your thing. I guess when I talk about it, I always talk about like favorite scenes that I had. I remember doing
Hmm.
Music Man, and it was right before Trouble, that was just it wasn't. I think it was when I had to tell all of the quartet how to sing Light a Rose, and for whatever reason, that scene was just so much fun to do. I just it was there was always this great rhythm with each of the guys that were cast for those four characters, and just getting them all to sing together every time felt it was just so natural. And I'm like 16, so I don't know why it was. You don't like age didn't really seem to factor into that particular role for some reason. I don't know what was going on with me at the time. It was actually harder later. I don't know. And yeah, I understand. When you kind of get distant from it, and I like that cosplay can bring you back to it. I mean, there's always something going on. There's always a story being told on Instagram with
Right.
cosplay. You can put yourself in those moments, and there's a lot going on TikTok, and there's a lot going on even with like fan films. I think it's getting like
Yeah.
that's kind of a side interest, season 3, but like it's just it's kind of cool, and it's really great. Like it's so nice to talk to you about these things, to know that there are other people who think this way. It's like,
Right.
oh, there's more of us. This is great.
Yes. More of us. Yes. No, it's no, I could, again, I could talk about theater, Star Wars, all that stuff like all day long. But theater, like you said, it definitely ties into the cosplay aspect. And my acting skills are definitely very rusty. I never performed in productions, but I took theater classes, and we had to do scenes and different things like that. So I have some experience. So I would definitely love down the road to do maybe a Supergirl fan film, or maybe Tomb Raider one or something, Ray one, whatever it is. um, I would absolutely love to do. I think that'd be a fun way to kind of combine theater and cosplay into one, which would be really cool.
Yes, I would look forward to you doing that for sure. Be very cool. So as we come to the end of the show, I always like to ask one question for the guests. It's kind of a serious, sort of like think about it kind of a question, but it doesn't have to be. Um, what do you feel cosplay impacts within yourself?
Ooh, oh man. Um, I would say just probably just going back to that confidence booster. It has brought a lot of, I was able to come out of my shell and realize the strength that I actually have, especially with Supergirl. Cosplay itself, again, putting on that cape and realizing that, okay, I can handle anything. And just given some rough patches in my past, and thinking that I wasn't capable of very much. I didn't think very highly of myself, at one point. And now looking back at it, I'm like, oh, brush that off. I can do anything if I set my mind to it and remain positive. It's very easy to let yourself get knocked down, and to let what feels like the weight of the world rest on your shoulders. But as Supergirl, I don't have to. I can lift that weight and get that confidence, and know that whatever comes in my way, I can handle it. And it's it's definitely impacted my life positively. There's I'm kind of sorry, I'm getting kind of like choked up thinking about it. It's just it's so empowering to know that I've gone through all these trials and difficult times, but I came out the other side and I'm just fine. So it's amazing, and cosplay's definitely been a great avenue for me to channel that and to grow emotionally, and mentally, and know that I am not alone. I'm stronger than I think, and bring it on, basically.
Bring it all.
Bring
That's
it
right.
on.
But thank you so much for sharing that. And the only thing left really is, where can we find you and how can we support you online?
Yes. So I am on Instagram. I'm also on Vero. I actually just joined probably about 2 months ago on that. So it's a new social media platform. And then I'm on TikTok and Facebook.
Wow. And
So
we will,
kind of, and YouTube because
and
double
YouTube, yes.
feature. Yep.
Yes, and definitely check out the YouTube, check out Double Feature, the podcast. We will have links to everything in the show notes below for sure. And thank you so much, Christina, for being on the show and for sharing everything. It's been fantastic. It's great to talk to you.
Yeah.
And yes, so that is all we have, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for listening. This is the Heroes of Cosplay Sanctuary podcast. Bye bye.